More troubles ahead for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard nutters in Iran, as they have now essentially lost all their proxies and allies in the region. President Trump is uniting Israelis and the Arab world against the Iranian regime, with the first target being the Iranian oil. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome to 2C TV, your global news channel. The Iranian regime are having an extremely sad day and week following President Trump's visit to the Middle East over the last day or so. We've had a lot of updates from Trump's visit in Saudi Arabia and now Qatar. We are going to give you the summary of what you might have missed since last night. And of course, as we speak, the mysterious explosions and fires across Iran, they are not stopping. And most of them are now hitting the oil and gas facilities and sites. There is a new movement, the Operation Suffocate the IRGC, which has been led by the Americans and now the Arab world. Of course, Saudi Arabia and UAE were already on board with President Trump and Israel. But now we are getting the Qataris, who until now have been a puppet of the Islamic Republic, to move away from them. And the offering is very simple from the Americans. We're going to make you rich. Just behave and say no to extremism. Now, Qatar and Saudi Arabia are becoming friends. That's good. Israel and Syria are becoming friends. That's good. Obviously, be skeptical because you can't trust any of these nutters, the Islamists. But as long as they behave, it's good. That's exactly what we wanted, as opposed to more wars and conflicts. Let me give you the actual updates. Earlier today, yes, President Trump met with al-Jilani. Yes, the man who self-identifies as the president of Syria. He wears a suit and a tie. Look at him, although he doesn't know how to wear a tie properly. What happened there, al-Jilani? Of course, the Crown Prince of Saudi was also there to be the mediator, to basically be the buffer, introducing the two sides. And it went quite well, surprisingly. I've already covered the analysis of what's actually been going on with Trump's plan. Although the whole chaos that we've had over the last few days, all the fake news and rumors about Trump selling out, all that has now been rejected. He left Saudi Arabia without recognizing the Palestinian state. Yeah, there are a lot of fake news, obviously, over the last few days, saying Trump is going to be announcing that he will be recognizing the Palestinian state when he gets to Saudi Arabia. Of course, that didn't happen. That was never supposed to be the plan. The whole plan was to trick the IRGC and Hamas, and they fell for the trap. And now both Hamas and Iran are cornered. Hamas are losing. They only have two military leaders left. After the latest statement we received from the IDF, there are only two senior figures left in Gaza. If you get those two, it's all over. That's Hamas. And they were tricked by Netanyahu and Trump over the last week or so. They made them think that, oh yes, Israelis and Americans have fallen out. Let's negotiate with the Americans. And then boom, the whole thing went up. The Iranian regime are also having a meltdown because they've realized that they have been tricked by the Americans. We're going to get into that in a second. But the al-Jilani of Syria and the American president, the relationship is based on conditions, as we said last night. So the Americans and the American president has essentially saved the Syrian people by lifting the sanctions. So economically, Syria could now be prosperous if they want to. Everybody panicked, saying, whoa, does this mean President Trump is selling out to Islamists? Is he caving in? No, because there are very, very clear conditions that have been set by both Saudi Arabia and the United States. Number one, Syria should join the Abraham Accords and normalize relationships with Israel. Al-Jilani is keen. That's good. Number two, expel all foreign terror groups from the Syrian territory. All these Islamists who are in Syria, get out. Al-Jilani agrees. Remove the Palestinian terrorists from the country in Syria Al-Jilani has already started doing that anyway, so he agrees. Number 4, assist and help the United States in blocking any ISIS resurgence. Al-Jilani agrees, even though he previously was basically ISIS, right? Remember? Tahrir al-Sham. Although they had some beef with ISIS, tribal fights as usual. And finally, take control of the ISIS detention centers in the northeastern parts of Syria. Al-Jilani has already started doing that anyway, because he knew that President Trump's coming to the Middle East. If he was going to be meeting with him, he has to take control of Syria. Yes, he's a former terrorist. We know that. It's quite clear. But he has to now behave. He has to prove by showing action. It's not selling out. It's the same thing that we have when it comes to the state of Qatar. The whole strategy has always been to move Qatar away from Iran. And I'm glad that President Trump has also clarified the whole plane issue, because a lot of people were saying, well, what are you accepting a plane from a foreign, especially a country like Qatar? The weird country. He clarified that, of course, I'm not accepting this as personally. It's going to go to the Defense Department. So that's good. Otherwise, it would have been unconventional. The president can't accept a gift from Qataris. That would have been really weird. Anyway, President Trump earlier today also clarified more targeting of the Islamic Republic. He said, he wants to make a deal, ideally, because he has to say that, if it's possible. But the sponsoring of terror, Islamism, must stop. Nuclear weapons, all that has to go. And he's introduced new sanctions, but also more measures. As I said, he's now targeting the Iranian oil, which we're going to get to in a second.
I want to make a deal with Iran. I want to do something if it's possible. But for that to happen, it must stop sponsoring terror, halt its bloody proxy wars, and permanently and verifiably cease its pursuit of nuclear weapons. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. I don't imagine there's anybody at this table or anybody in this room that would say they can. I'm strongly urging all nations to join us in fully and totally enforcing the sanctions that I just placed on Iran, and we also place secondary sanctions, which are in certain ways even more devastating. Iran, as you know, had no money when I left office. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. There was no attack. There was no thought of attack. There would have been no attack if I were president.
True. But again, it doesn't really stop there. As we said, the Iranian regime today are furious with President Trump and the state of Israel. They've realized what was happening. They've realized they've been tricked. They realized that the Americans and Israelis are still pretty much close, and all the rumors on social media is not true. And essentially, the Iranian foreign minister came out to do an angry interview saying that how dare President Trump call Iran a regional threat? It's pure deception. It's propaganda. We're the good guys here. We're forever the victims. They're learning from Pakistan. Forever the victims, right? Let's quickly go to that interview, English subtitle obviously, and then we'll come back.
نکته دومی که ایشون مطرح کرده و جای تأسف داره این میزان فریبکاری، این که ایشون تمامی تهدیدهای اسرائیل و آن تمامی جنایات اسرائیل در منطقه رو نادیده میگیره و میخواد ایران رو به عنوان تهدید معرفی بکنه. این یک فریبکاری محض هست و عوض کردن جای تهدیدات هست. کی الان داره در غزه کی 60,000 نفر انسان رو در غزه کشته؟ کی این همه تخریب به بار آورده؟ کی به منطقه پیرامونی فلسطین داره حمله میکنه؟ به لبنان، به سوریه، به یمن. میزان اشغالگری که در سوریه در همین ماه‌های اخیر صورت داده رژیم صهیونیستی از کل مساحت غزه بیشتر هست و هر روز به هر حال به جنایات خودش داره ادامه میده. یک ملتی رو در غزه در محاصره اقتصادی قرار داده. همه اینها نادیده گرفته میشه و سعی میکنن که ایران رو به عنوان تهدیدی علیه منطقه معرفی بکنن و تا تهدید اصلی فراموش بشه، ولی فکر نمیکنم چنین تبلیغاتی موثر باشه.
He's having a complete emotional breakdown on live TV. He's so angry. Yeah, surprise, surprise. Nobody likes you. Like literally, even people of Iran don't like the regime, let alone people on the outside. Why were you surprised that the American president is going to be going around the Middle East, rallying the troops, getting the Arab countries to unite with Israel against the IRGC. That was always going to happen. He literally started the Abraham Accords in the previous presidency. And of course, the Iranian regime was saying that we're going to keep going. Both sides are now playing chicken with the negotiations over the nuclear program, because neither side wants to be the first one to walk away. Of course, there's a massive deadlock. Neither side is getting anywhere. Like literally at this point, it's embarrassing. They're not even talking to each other directly. They are using countries like Oman as a mediator to talk. It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. Now, President Trump is playing chicken really well. He keeps saying, well, ideally, yeah, of course I want to deal with Iran. What are they doing? And the Iranian regime are just having a meltdown. Say, oh, I can't believe President Trump wants to kill us. Make a deal. If you actually want to get rid of your nuclear, do you dare to actually get rid of the nuclear facilities? Of course they're not going to do that. They might lie, they might have underground secret sites. They're not going to do that. That's why President Trump has now started a new round of attacks, sanctions, and of course targeting the Iranian oil. So the Americans just announced that they have sanctioned more than 20 companies now that are connected to the secret Iranian oil sales to China, worth billions. Many of them were basically based in Hong Kong, like Separ Energy. This is directly linked to the Iranian military. Profits are funding the missiles and drones that are being given to the Houthis and previously to Hezbollah and Hamas. Some of them are basically in disguise of essentially Iranian oil origin. It's fake documents. It's all fake. It's basically a front. President Trump said, if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch, we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure and drive the Iranian oil exports to zero. So President Trump has now started that. He's now warned every single country, especially China, you deal with Iran on oil, we're not going to deal with you. You're out. Done. And it's going to put more tariffs and sanctions on every country that deals with Iranian oil. This is Operation Suffocate the IRGC. First, the proxies have been eliminated. Second, getting the Israelis and the Arab world to slowly uniting. Of course, Syria is now keen. Saudi is keen. They just have to make it official. UAE, keen. It's all about getting all the others. And the last pawn is to withdraw Qatar as a puppet of the IRGC, political puppet, to move away. And then that's it. The Iranian regime will have two options. Number one, actually accept what the Americans are proposing in this deal. Right now, they wouldn't accept it because that's basically surrender. Or, number two, say no, face the backlash, which means Operation Suffocate IRGC is going to accelerate. That also could include the Americans or the Israelis doing a strike on the nuclear sites in order to dismantle it. But it's not just going to be the airstrikes. That's why President Trump has now outlined a new plan, which is, well, we're not going to go and invade Iran. That's just stupid. But hitting the nuclear site is not going to be enough. The only way is to completely weaken the regime fully on all fronts, everything I listed. That's the only way that the Iranian people could take control of their country. This is the only option that you have on the table. The other option is if you're a warmonger in neocon, you could just go and invade Iran. That's going to backfire massively. It's a terrible idea, starting a new war directly with Iran like that, because there's no other plan. Let's get some reaction from you guys. Super chat from Ivan, thank you, saying Al Salami needs to learn how to do the wins and not. Yeah, that picture of him wearing a tie incorrectly. That's just, yeah, I'm a little bit OCD when it comes to that. Ivan says a deception. The Iranian regime don't like their own medicine. Yeah, I mean, pot kettle stupid. The Iranian regime talking about that they literally do takia, as we say, every day. Now apparently others are not allowed to do deception. Yes, of course, the American president exercised in deception against the Iranian regime. That's literally the point of geopolitics when you're dealing with an enemy. What, do you expect him to just show you his cards and be completely open and honest? That would be a terrible idea. Not just in geopolitics, in business, in general. You can't let the other side know exactly what you're going to do. Then what's the point? Super chat saying, USA here. Hello, America. Hey, brother, nice job reporting. Here's my motto. Positive results without making excuses. May you and yours have peace. Thank you so much. I like that motto. Ivan's back. No oil sales, no more IRGC. But that's the thing. So over the last few days, with all the pressure on Iran and also all the explosions and fires, the blackouts continue. I'm in touch with people in Iran, including my father. Electricity goes out regularly. Water. Not really sure what's going on with water. They don't have water. How do you not have water? No one's been hitting the dams. So that's happening. Because of course everything's linked to the infrastructure, which is obviously has electricity. So the whole thing is falling apart. Cynthia says they feel deceived. Payback's a bitch. I mean, again, what were they expecting? Surely, I mean, they definitely did not believe it. They definitely inside Iran, when the rumors and gossip on social media was going around the last week or so, obviously, right? They can't be that stupid. This whole being offended that President Trump deceived them, this is just theater, right? Because I would like to give them the benefit of the doubt in Iran that the regime, at least they're evil, but they're not stupid, right? They knew. If I could tell 2 weeks ago what was happening, they knew. So what they're showing now, when the foreign minister, IRGC, and all the others on TV crying around, and this is just show, right? That's the only explanation. I mean, they're not surprised, are they? Cripple Cassia says, I thought you said you were going to get a haircut. You look like a Middle Eastern Ace Ventura. It's getting there, isn't it? It's becoming like Tintin. A tanned Tintin. I was supposed to, but today we've been busy finalizing the 2CTV app. Oh yeah. And also the 2C store. 2C store is also coming. It's going to be beautiful. The most beautiful store. Steve, let's get some non-super chats. Steve Smith says, it seems to me that instead of making one devastating blow to the IRGC, the powers that be are taking a little by little approach. This makes all sorts of sense to me. Exactly. I'm guessing actually Steve wrote this before I said what I said earlier. It will be a terrible plan if the West and Israel went with the two obvious options. Option number one, just do a couple of airstrikes on Iran. That won't be enough. Number two, invade Iran with American soldiers on the ground. That will be a terrible, terrible idea, right? So these two options not going to work for different reasons. That's why what Steve says and what I said earlier, that's the only other option, which is what we call Operation Suffocate IRGC. You have to just slowly unplug the life support, and then that's it. Then there will eventually be internally the armed forces against the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. You heard it here first. I think with Saudi spending big money on weapons, they will police the region. That's the plan. The plan was to get Saudi Arabia, because Saudi wanted this. Saudi wanted to be the police of the region. Firstly, this is normal when it comes to geopolitics. You're talking about planet Earth and humans. We are all tribal, and there will always have to be a police. There will have to always be someone monitoring everybody else. Even when you're at school, primary school, one kid is in charge of looking after all the other kids sometimes, depending on the school. Now, there's been a rivalry between Iran and Saudi Arabia for decades and decades. Both sides hate each other, and neither have been actually policing the world, so the Americans got involved, and that was a terrible idea over the last 20, 30 years. They didn't know how to police the region either. The only option would be to get the Saudis to be the big dogs, and they are now befriending everybody. Trump is getting them to befriend, obviously, Qatar, Israel, Jordan, and everybody else, right? UAE. The point is, the best case scenario is not to have Saudi as the main and only regional police in the Middle East. You need a coalition. So, of course, Israel and Saudi, their alliance going forward, when it's finalized. But Iran, when Iran becomes free and democratic, the best case scenario, because Iran and Israel are going to be allies again, they are historic allies, the Iranians and Israelis. Saudi Arabia if they are close to Israel and America, then that means once Iran is free of the IRGC, the new Iran, which is a major country in terms of size and resources, with the help of Saudi, could have a coalition of actually policing the region in a good way. So you won't really have one police. People always think a regional police or world police, which is America, it always has to be like some sort of harsh and evil force that will tell people what to do. It's simply to just keep an eye on chaos. So the Middle East is probably best not to have just one country, because there will always be someone who hates you. If you have a coalition, which is the whole point of Abraham Accords, and then the next step, which is the Cyrus Accords, which means getting Iran to join it and basically normalize the relationship with Israel and the Arab world. And that's the only way. And this is why Qatar have decided to say yes to President Trump, because they know that's the future. Qatar wants to compete with UAE and Saudi. They care about money. They have also been distracted by allowing Islamists to do whatever they want. Hamas leadership lived in Qatar, and everything else has happened. But they know that's not the future anymore. The only reason Qatar did that was because the Iranian regime went to Qatar and said, I hate Israel, I hate Saudi Arabia. I also hear you don't like Saudi Arabia. Let's team up. I will help you rival Saudi Arabia. In return, you will be the heartland for the Islamists, and use Al Jazeera will help with the funding as well to spread propaganda around the world. And then the Iranian regime, with the help of the state of Qatar, also funded a lot of extremist groups in the West, in university campuses, and everything else has been going on. All these campaign groups, protest groups, they're all funded by Iran and Qatar. But now Qatar has been told that's not the future anymore. Everyone's dying. Everyone's going away. Hezbollah's gone. Hamas is gone. Houthis are going. Syria, Assad is gone. Iran is going to go. Instead of just having a rivalry with Saudi, be friends. America will get some stuff from Qatar. America will get other stuff from Saudi, and vice versa. Obviously, the Saudis will get some stuff like weapons from the US. Qatar could get other things. There's a lot of things that these countries could share in terms of technology and trade. And with Israel as well. Let's get back to this. Rick says, which comes first, the 2C TV app or men on Mars? I can't answer that question. The 2C TV app is coming. We're literally just finishing the whole thing this week. So I have it. I'll just give you a vague preview. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, obviously. So that's the screen. Just the basic page. This is the you got the access. That's the 2C TV app. We got the documentaries. It's coming home. The 2C TV app is ready. It's literally on my phone. I'll show you the actual icon, which is right there. That's the 2C TV app, which means it's actually coming soon. We are actually testing it now. I'm going to give the link to the Discord moderators of 2C TV Plus, those on the chat forum. They're going to be testing it now so that make sure everything's actually working smoothly. Cami says Newberg is still attacking Trump. Yeah, I know quite well. She's a good friend of mine, but she keeps falling for the what's been said on the surface. I said this 2 weeks ago. Don't judge it never judge Trump based on what he says directly. Just wait for his action. Ivan says subscribers still racing ahead. Has it gone up again? We just updated this. It's gone to 842 now. Brilliant. Thank you, Ivan, for the update. So that number 841 is now 842,000. Ladies and gentlemen, we continue to grow, and the mainstream media continues to be suffocated. Operation Suffocate the mainstream media. That I just came up with that. Let's make that a thing. Let's pretend that's always been a plan. Okay. Now. I missed the other non-super chats. So let's go and see what you guys are saying. Robert says, I am not sure the Syrian leader is exactly trustworthy. Yeah, firstly, nobody is trustworthy. When it comes to geopolitics, you can't trust anybody. Even allies and allies. Like, do you really think, despite what it looks on the surface, President Trump, for example, trusts Emmanuel Macron. They are allies. Don't trust anybody. You can't trust anybody. It's about keeping an eye on the people who promise you to do something. Right now, Al-Jilani's promised to do all the things that he's been given. As long as he does them, it's fine. As long as he actually does the job, be normal. People said the same about Saudi Arabia. About 30 years ago, 20 years ago, they're like, well, Saudi, you can't deal with these nutters. They're all crazy extremists. The family in Saudi worked really hard for years and years, crushed the Islamists, banned the Palestinian flag and anybody who mentioned Palestine. And now they're also liberating their own society. Women are allowed to drive. Women are allowed to dress whatever they want to dress. They don't have to cover their face or whatever, their hair. And music and concerts are now going to Saudi Arabia. It's getting there. It's not there yet because there's still a chunk of society in small towns in Saudi who are still backwards. But it's the job of the family because it's a dictatorship. The good thing about dictatorships is that the people in charge, if they are good people, they can manage. They don't have to worry about votes. And people are going to clip this saying, Maya Tusi just fought against the democracy. I've always been clear. I will make a great world dictator. I will not make a good elected politician. Walt says, stop letting radical extremists into Europe. They have 2,000 mosques in the UK, but go on the streets. Yeah, it's this sign of strength that they show. Like, look at us. Look how many of us do this. They do it everywhere. And the images you get, the videos from Moscow, they continue to block the roads in the middle of Moscow to do their prayers. Same thing in Stockholm, same thing in London. You have so many mosques. Why do you need to go on the streets? John says that's why I say don't show your cards too early. Yeah, don't be a bandwagon jumping ticket. You could have done with some spacing with that. I know why you didn't do spacing, but I still said it. Oh my God. George says, what do liberals and Muslims both have in common? They both murder babies. Oh no. Marvin says, stop the BS. Saudi is still demanding a Palestinian solution, Palestinian state. Of course, and they should. Obviously they should. You do realize why every country that is basically normalizing relationship with Israel and the West, that includes Jordan, Saudi Arabia, UAE, want a Palestinian state. If you don't know why, think about it. What will happen if there is no Palestinian state? So right now, while we've had Hamas and Hezbollah and all these weirdos, you could not have a two-state solution. There is no way a two-state solution should be on the table while you still have Islamist crazies attacking Israel. You get rid of all of them, the Houthis and Hamas and the IRGC, then you need to have a conversation. And by the way, do not call it the two-state solution. Just call it a Palestinian state project. Because, firstly, it shouldn't include Gaza. Gaza go back to Israel. Just a chunk, small chunk, even if it's just one road, doesn't matter, one street in Judea and Samaria. You have to. The reason for that is because faking it till you're making it is a thing in life. At this point, the Palestinian identity is a fake identity. They created it in the 1960s, right? But they've now created it. They've been a number of generations have been born since then, and they believe they are Palestinian. They think it's the thing. At this point, you're going to have to give them something after you get rid of the Islamist threat. And do not call it the two-state solution, because that just complicates things. Just say, okay, because the two-state solution is Jordan and Israel. That's the point of it. Give them something, just a road, that's Palestine. Now go. The reason, obviously Saudi Arabia should demand that. Jordan and UAE, all of them. Because if you don't have that, what do you think is going to happen? All those crazy Islamists who call themselves Palestinian are going to go to those countries to cause trouble. They don't want them there. They know how to look after their borders. Egypt has a massive wall between themselves and Gaza. Egypt also wants a Palestinian state. Yes, it's definitely in the interest of those guys to have a Palestinian state. Now, of course, Egypt, they kind of fake it when they say they don't care about the Palestinian state. It's not like a passionate thing. It's not like they are saying, oh, we need to really care about these Palestinians, give them a state. It's not that. It's just that they don't want trouble. That's the only reason. Obviously, they should demand that. get some non-super chats quickly. There's someone who's not happy. Where is that guy gone? David. The speaker is talking S. Good comeback. Very intellectual response to what I said. Anyway, Daniel says Trump is so astute and wise. He's playing chess with the people that only know how to play checkers, and he's making friends around the world. Now we'll see who wants peace and prosperity. The fascinating part about this is the liberal left-wing globalists who are having a meltdown. That Trump is not starting new wars and is actually going with a peace plan. It's not necessarily a peace plan. Again, it's to suffocate the IRGC, then to have peace, which makes sense. Anyway, we are going to take a short break because we are getting some more breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, from both Libya and Pakistan. Escalation in both countries is getting to a whole new level. We're going to give you an update on Baluchistan and their movement to have independence, because apparently it's getting very, very close. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Maya Tusi, and we are the media.